A huge match has been announced for Multiverse of Matches with NWA involvement. Hint, hint, hate to say I told you so. A huge match is also announced for Rebellion's pay-per-view next month. And we have the ratings for this week's episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. All this and more in today's Impact Wrestling news. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of Impact Wrestling. And as I said in the opening of the video, I hate to say I told you so, and I'm not a scoopster either. And I didn't put it forward as a scoop. I said I think this is where they might be going. And it certainly is the direction that they're going in, because Nick Aldis, former Impact World Champion Nick Aldis, is returning to Impact Wrestling because two matches have been announced for Impact Wrestling's Multiverse of Matches event at WrestleCon, the biggest of which sees Impact Wrestling's digital media champion Matt Cardona teaming up with his partner Chelsea Green to face off against the former NWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis and his wife Mickie James. This is being billed as Impact versus NWA, with Cardona and Green representing Impact. But this is certainly very interesting, of course, because Cardona currently holds the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. So that's quite curious. But Cardona and Green versus Aldis and James was made after Green turned heel on Mickie James during this week's episode of Impact Wrestling on Access TV, right after Tasha Steelz, of course, retained the Knockouts Championship over James in the Street Fight main event at the former ECW arena. Cardona joined his wife in the attack on James and actually dropped her with radio silence to end the show. And it must be said, it was a pretty, sort of shocking way to end the show. Certainly, it got the reaction that I think people wanted, but when we spoke about this before, didn't we, here on the channel, and once I saw the results come out of the television tapings from the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia, I said, this is where this one feels like it's going. Even before Matt Cardona attacked Mickie James, you kind of you look at things, and if you've watched pro wrestling long enough, you can kind of go, I think we know where this one is headed. We definitely knew that Chelsea Green was going to turn on Mickie James, right? And then you go, oh no, Chelsea Green's going to turn on Mickie. She's going to be a heel. Her partner, Matt Cardona, is one of the biggest heels in Impact, one of the biggest heels on the independent pro wrestling scene, and he's also the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. In the NWA, who is he feuding with? Oh, he's feuding with Nick Aldis, and Nick Aldis just so happens to be the husband of Mickie James, and Nick Aldis is a former Impact World Champion, well, TNA World Heavyweight Champion, but it adds up, it makes sense. And I think it's fascinating because, look, let's be honest, Nick Aldis has a huge history, right? Huge history of Impact, as I mentioned. Former TNA World Heavyweight Champions, been there a couple of times, but, I mean, doesn't have the, well, historically, certainly hasn't had the best things to say about that company. He mentioned after the last time he left Impact, he was sort of willing and ready to get out of the pro wrestling business before the NWA came along because, he felt that he had done good stuff. He always considered himself to be world champion level, caliber. Had the issues, of course, with Bruce Pritchard in Impact Wrestling and Dixie Carter, and just kind of felt like he was being used and not treated well enough and all that kind of stuff. And he had hoped, given his look, his size, all of the above, that he would get a shot in WWE. And for whatever reason, that didn't happen. Whether it's because of the John Cena stuff, we won't go into it, but the John Cena stuff, would that be part of it? And now, of course, with Bruce Pritchard being in such a senior role in that company, the heat they have, that just it's not happening. He had said some stuff about Impact Wrestling, and you kind of just felt, nah, there's no way this guy's going back. He just doesn't really, want to. And he's got his own thing going involved in the NWA. I think he's bought into part of the territory as well. He's certainly a very senior figure. Whilst he's not, obviously, the president and owner of that company, that's Billy Corgan. We know he has a very close relationship with Billy Corgan. As I said, he said that he hopes one day to, actually buy in to the NWA, and I don't know if he already has. I don't know what the situation is there, but he's very, very involved. So I think it's fascinating. I think it's a massive match, and this is really what you want to see. I mentioned this before when we were talking about the Multiverse of Matches the other day, that when they were announcing, say, the Ultimate X match for the X Division Championship, whilst any Ultimate X match is great, and given the people involved in that match, you go, man, that's going to be awesome. And Mike Bailey versus Alex Shelley, you go, that's great. But the event is called the Multiverse of Matches, and the way they had presented it was that you were going to have Impact Wrestling versus New Japan, or you're going to have, you know, Pro Wrestling Noah versus Impact Wrestling, or you're going to have all of this kind of stuff, or you're going to have, you know, Impact Wrestling versus Ring of Honor with the Good Brothers versus the Briscoes, all that kind of stuff. And whilst I'm looking forward to the X Division title match and Ultimate X because it's Ultimate X and it's going to be great, what's really multiversal, if that's the right word, about that? What screams multiverse about that? It doesn't. If you had an Ultimate X match with some people from New Japan, some people from Ring of Honor, some people from Pro Wrestling Noah, from the NWA, that's the true multiverse of matches, right? That's a 6-man match with all of these people from different companies. That would be great. And this is a match that not only fits that billing, but it makes a lot of sense, and it ties in storylines from 2 companies. You've got Chelsea Green and Mickie James from Impact, but you've also got the storyline going on with Nick Aldis and Matt Cardona. What's fascinating now is going to see how much of this is going to play out on Impact Wrestling television going forward, because we know, we've seen it, well, we've certainly read it from the latest television tapings. As far as I'm aware, Nick Aldis did not appear. Now, is he going to appear after the Multiverse of Matches? Probably not, because they've got all of their television taped until Rebellion. Now, the crucial thing involved in that could be is that we do know that Impact Wrestling is going to be filming some stuff, not necessarily matches, but filming some stuff in the road to Rebellion and putting it on Impact Wrestling television at WrestleCon. I think this might be the thing, or these kind of Nick Aldis, shall we say, scenes, I think are the things that are probably going to be filmed and then plopped in to Impact Wrestling television. I would not be shocked if we get some kind of Nick Aldis involvement at Rebellion. That's kind of my prediction. And look, Impact Wrestling, as we've spoken about before, they're happy to work with anyone right now, whether it is the NWA, which is just, again, wild, considering their president's Billy Corgan, and he hates Impact, or hated Impact Wrestling, and definitely hates Dixie Carter. He said it several times when they went to court, all that kind of stuff, and all of the drama involved there. And Dixie's still, I believe, a minority owner in the company, so he can't stand Dixie Carter. But this is Anthem he's dealing with, which I suppose is somewhat different. But nevertheless, you know, that's what Impact Wrestling does now. They've got working relationships with the NWA. They had it last year with Empower. They've got it with Ring of Honor. How much that will continue under Tony Khan, we don't know. But they've had it with AEW. They've even, I guess, kind of had it with WWE, with Mickie James being in the Royal Rumble. They've got it with, you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah as well. It doesn't end. And they've got it with AAA too. So I'm really excited to see this one. And it's always great to see Nick Aldis back inside of an Impact Wrestling ring. Not the only match, though, that's been announced for Multiverse of Matches. Impact has also announced that Tenille Dashwood and Madison Rayne will defend the Knockouts Tag Team titles in a fatal 4-way match. Their challengers will be Steels and Savannah Evans, Giselle Shaw and Lady Frost, and Havoc and Rosemary of the Decay. Again, this one isn't really a multiversal match. I guess not every match can be. I would prefer it to be that way, of every match is a multiversal match. You've got all of those people in town, because of course this is taking place during WrestleMania weekend in Texas at WrestleCon, so you've got all of these people in there. Maybe it's just not been possible for whatever reason. Nevertheless, big matches have been announced for that show. A couple other matches have been announced for Rebellion, one being Eddie Edwards versus Jonathan Gresham, which is just fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. So we know that Jonathan Gresham was at the latest set of Impact Wrestling television tapings in Philadelphia, and he is going to be wrestling Eddie Edwards at the Impact Rebellion pay-per-view. Now, they haven't specified, as far as I'm aware, that it's going to be for the Ring of Honor World Championship, and I think that's wise, considering technically he might not be Ring of Honor World Champion during that period of time, right? Because he's got the match at Supercard of Honor, the undisputed Ring of Honor World Championship match against Bandito. There's a possibility he doesn't win that, even though Jonathan Gresham is going to win that match and hold both bouts. That's definitely the plan. There's a possibility that it might not be. So they can't, I suppose, advertise it as a Ring of Honor World Championship match. But also as well, anything Ring of Honor has to go through Tony Khan at this point, and we don't really know what Ring of Honor's relationship with Impact is going to be in this Tony Khan era. I would assume that it's not going to be a problem, considering Tony Khan doesn't have an issue working with other companies, but we don't know. We just don't know what that's going to look like. So And when it comes to Jonathan Gresham, what we do kind of know is that he's expected very, very, very soon to sign a contract with Tony Khan. We don't know if it's going to be a Ring of Honor contract, most likely a Ring of Honor contract, but it could be an AEW contract, or it could just be a Tony Khan, shall we say, contract. We know that he's going to be under contract to Tony Khan, easy for me to say, very, very soon. We know that's going to happen. We know that's going to be certainly the direction that they go, and we know that Jonathan Gresham is going to be making appearances on AEW television very, very soon. So you look how busy this guy is. This is a guy who's going to be wrestling on Ring of Honor TV, Impact Wrestling Television. He's the Progress World Champion, and he's going to be appearing for AEW. He's going to certainly be a busy man, and this match is going to be great. Of course, you've got Eddie Edwards, who is the leader of Honor No More, a Ring of Honor spin-off of people that were disenfranchised and unhappy with Ring of Honor shutting down or going on hiatus, saying that there was no honor in Ring of Honor, there's no honor in Impact Wrestling, going up against the guy that's still representing Ring of Honor from the past, and I guess in the future, Jonathan Gresham. It just makes a ton of sense, and it's going to be a great match, so I'm very much excited for that one. Another new match has been announced for Rebellion as well. During last night's, or this week's rather, episode of Impact Wrestling, it was revealed that Jonah will be facing New Japan Pro Wrestling star Tomohiro Ishii at Rebellion. Of course, Ishii is set to take part in Impact Wrestling's Multiverse of Matches event on April 1st. The 6-time Never Openweight champion will be facing Eddie Edwards at the WrestleCon event. I just kind of enjoy and am enjoying anything that Jonah's doing, really, right now in Impact. I think he's so much fun, you know. I know it's kind of the modern big man style is to do things that big men shouldn't really be doing, just doing crazy spots, crazy jumps, whilst also looking brutal. I really am excited for when Jonah can go over to New Japan in Japan and maybe work a Tokyo Dome show, because I think he's going to just be so over. I really do. The style he's got is just, they will lap that up. They will lap that up, and I expect, you know, Ishii and Jonah just to beat the hell out of each other. I really do, and I think that's going to be a ton of fun. I really, really do. Like I said, I enjoyed so much Jonah's match against PCO at Sacrifice. I thought, you know, whilst you could say that Jay White versus Alex Shelley was the best match on the show, and it was, Jonah versus PCO was great. It tore the house down. They loved it because they just beat the hell out of each other. And it's fun to watch, and that's why people watch it. It's great. I think he's got a great style. Finally, some good news when it comes to Impact Wrestling's viewership numbers. Thursday's taped edition of Impact Wrestling drew 100,000 viewers on Access TV, according to Nielsen via Showbuzz Daily. Now, this is up 47% from last week's 68,000 viewers, which is a near record low since they moved to Access TV, and I just guess in general. Thursday's Impact drew a 0.02 rating in the 18 to 49 key demographic. This is even with last week's key demo. Thursday's Impact did not rank in the cable top 150 for the third week in a row because of that low-key demo. Thursday's Impact drew the third lowest viewership of the year so far, and tied with 3 other episodes to be the lowest key demo rating of the year so far as well. Impact viewership was down 13.79% from the same week in 2021, while the key demo rating was down 50% from the episode that aired 1 year ago. NCAA March Madness games dominated the cable top 150 again for the second week in a row, and this is kind of, you know, people will point to that, and it's a fair thing. That's why Impact Wrestling's really struggling, but it's not really been anything new because they've kind of hovered around that 100,000 mark for the entirety of the year. They had a really good number at the end of January, which is 182,000. Why? I think it was because of the Royal Rumble effect, honestly, with Mickie James. I think that was the reason. And I don't want to sound like a broken record because I've said the same thing in my thoughts on Impact and the ratings. I understand there are multiple different ways to consume Impact, YouTube and all that kind of stuff. I get it, but that's Impact's ceiling right now, 100,000, you know, and it'll probably continue to get worse because viewership becomes so much more diverse. And again, there are different ways to consume content, but that's the situation. And they're not moving away from Access TV anytime soon because the company that owns them owns it. And that's the situation when it comes to Impact Wrestling's ratings. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on today's Impact Wrestling news stories in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak for you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.